Hey guys, Dr. Ben here, FA Well Centers. Welcome and bring your questions. So I'm going to be answering questions for the next half hour, even longer if you've got enough. So bring those questions, anything that you have. I am here to answer those today, every Thursday morning. We go live on YouTube, on Facebook. For those of you that are new to our page, go ahead and like or follow our page, and you will be notified, especially if you hit that little bell up in the corner, you will be notified anytime we go live. And we go live many times a week. Lots of good information on YouTube. We've got over 650, 700 videos, something like that right now. There's our YouTube channel right up there. And subscribe to that. All of our videos that we do on the Facebook Lives, they get up onto YouTube as well. So if you ever miss one, go on there and we'll get it. So pop down below where you're watching from. If you've got a question, put it down there. If you don't, that's fine. Just let me know where you're watching from. Love to give you a shout out. Love to see you guys all over the world. And you know what? We're all one people, and we've all got health issues, and it doesn't matter whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in New Zealand or Australia or Asia, wherever it is, we've got health issues. And my goal is to give you guys solutions. But remember, everything we're doing today is thinking about the why. It's not about what's the magic supplement, what's the magic cure. It's about the why, and then we fix the why. So here's Melissa. Good to see you. My testosterone is 63.2. I'm a female. How can I lower this naturally? That's a great question. And if you're like any of the two women yesterday that we reviewed blood work with, both of their testosterone said less than 2.5. So for some people, that's not an issue. They want to raise it. But for you, absolutely. 40 to 60 is a great level. You're at 63.2. Unless you're taking external testosterone, it is going to be a sign of something else. And I almost guarantee there's going to be some little chin hairs. There's going to be some potential signs of PCOS, depending on how old you are, polycystic ovarian syndrome. But very likely what we're looking at is there is a metabolic issue going on. This is metabolic syndrome. And so that's what's going to drive this DHEA and testosterone up. And in men, when they have metabolic syndrome and they have these issues, that testosterone actually goes down because it's spilling into estrogen. But in women, it's kind of flip-flop. It's really interesting how this works. The women become more like a man and the man becomes more like a woman because of this metabolic syndrome and because of this state. And so when you look at gender confusion and all these things out there nowadays, I think some of that may even be part of this is because we do have a lot of women that are having way more testosterone than they should in their body, and men that are having way less testosterone and way more estrogen than they should in their body because they do have metabolic syndrome, because they do have insulin resistance, and their hormones are actually shifting. So yes, so Melissa, what you need to do, DIME, D-I-M-E, is going to be a good supplement to do to block that overconversion into the testosterone. But then the next part would be you've got to stabilize that blood sugar. Get started on blood sugar monitoring and look 85 to 110 all day, every day. Keep that as steady as possible. If you can't figure it out, let us know. We do that continuous glucose monitoring with patients. I'm getting ready to put my patch back on this morning, and I'll show you guys tomorrow what that looks like. All right. And we have Carla. Carla, what is your opinion on having a colonoscopy? So it depends what you have going on. If you're talking about a routine colonoscopy, then Carla and Melissa, let me know where you guys are watching from. Love to see which states and cities, everything you guys are at. So Carla, colonoscopy, if it's routine, that's different than if it's like, oh my gosh, you're bleeding. My pastor's dad, I was just talking to him. He was in the hospital, and he was having lots of blood come out of his colon, out of his rectum, and so guess what? They're going to do a colonoscopy. You got to see what's going on in there. But for a routine colonoscopy, I'm a little more hesitant on that. One, you've got to go under, so they knock you out. Two, there is a risk of perforation. So as you go in through that colon, you've got this camera scoping around, looking around through there, and there is a risk of perforation. It's about 1%, and there are issues that come about from that. So what's an alternative? Because obviously, as we age, you need to know what's going on in there. So one of the best ways to do it is what's called a virtual colonoscopy. It may be called something different in your area, but if you Google virtual colonoscopy near me, anything like that, there will be one. You'll probably have to pay out of pocket, but some insurances are paying nowadays, but it's a virtual colonoscopy. They send this air into your colon and then do a little scan of that virtually, like a little imaging, and they're able to see three-dimensionally all the way through your colon. They can see polyps, they can see fissures, all types of different things in there. And the GI docs, they say, oh, don't do that, because if there is a polyp, then we're going to have to go in and do a colonoscopy anyways. Well, if you have no family history, if you have not been having constipation for 30 years, if you've got no major GI issues that way, then I would say start out with that virtual colonoscopy, and then if you need to down the road, you can go into a full-blown colonoscopy. So great question, Carla. And we've got Jennifer here, Jennifer Jackson. If my thyroid issue is Hashimoto's with high TPO and thyroglobulin antibodies that are high, can I stop taking levothyroxine? So here's the deal. If you don't do anything else, no, you can't. You have to keep taking levothyroxine. If you do everything perfectly and you calm down your Hashimoto's and your antibodies go down and you feel way better and all those things, you may still have to take some external thyroid. And here's the reason why. TPO antibodies mean your thyroid have been being attacked and it's been being destroyed. And so we don't know how much has been destroyed. You can't do an ultrasound, you can't do a scan and go, ooh, you've got 92% left or you've got 65% left or anything like that. We can't tell. And so for now, you need to. Otherwise, if you stop taking levothyroxine, you're going to crash, because here's the deal. Not only are you attacking your thyroid, but you're also attacking the bus that transports it around. So if you, right now, even if you have great T4 levels from that levothyroxine, you've got the conversion, you're converting to T3, you may still not be transporting it around the body like you need to. And so you need as much as possible right now. Until you calm down that autoimmune and you stop doing that thyroglobulin antibodies. Excuse me. It's like my allergy live I talked about a couple days ago. So no, you can't just go cold turkey. You can't just go off of the levothyroxine, even though you know it's Hashimoto's, because you may always need a little bit more in there. My goal is to get somebody to taking as little thyroid medication as possible to get the desired result. So if that means you have to lick the pill once a day to feel good, lick the pill once a day. So here's the deal. You need to calm down that autoimmune. If you haven't watched our videos, Brittany, go ahead and pop down below some of the YouTube videos on Hashimoto's and look to see how to fix your Hashimoto's. As you do that, then you can start thinking about weaning off the medication and working with your prescribing physician in order to do that. But you've got to calm down that Hashimoto's first. And if you just take pull the rug out from underneath you, stop taking the med, you will probably feel much worse. Melissa, TPO antibodies was also 1,300. Absolutely, same thing here, Melissa. You have full-blown Hashimoto's, and that's going to be causing this attack on your thyroid. So you've got to treat it like an autoimmune condition. You've got to fix that autoimmune that we are seeing. So absolutely. Jennifer, good to see you. Could chronic stress affect pituitary hormone? Well, let's think about it this way. Where does the stimulation to the adrenal glands come from? Well, ultimately from the pituitary. Just like the thyroid hormone that stimulates the thyroid, it's called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, that comes from the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland also kicks out FSH, follicle stimulating hormone and LH luteinizing hormone, those are both going to be other pituitary hormones that help to regulate a female cycle and make you menstruate and ovulate and all these different things. And then the third thing that the pituitary is going to do is kick out ACTH, which is going to tell the adrenals, basically the adrenal stimulating hormone, and it's going to tell the adrenals what to do: cortisol, DHEA, all those different adrenal hormones. So can chronic stress affect pituitary hormones? Pretty obvious, right? We think about it this way. The pituitary is the jockey sitting on the horse, riding that horse, and whipping the horse to go faster or slower. So if we've been whipping this horse, we were just talking about a patient this morning, a couple family members are having cancer, major stressor in life, just really going down this path of just, holy cow, can't hardly keep himself together, but can't lose weight right now. We've been going through the program, things are getting better. Some of the systems aren't changing as much as we'd like, and yet we know that because he's under that chronic stress and that cortisol and everything, not going to lose the weight because the body's like, I could care less about losing weight. I need to survive. And his cortisol is really low. So that pituitary is just whipping those adrenals, trying to get more juice out of them. But they're already, that horse is already depleted. It's run its best leg of the race. And on that last run of it, it is not going to be able to finish very strong, no matter how hard you whip it. So what can happen? We can see, if you're looking at your hormones, if your TSH is low, thyroid stimulating hormone is low, and your T3 and T4 are low, that's usually a hypopituitary causing a hypothyroid. So then we have to take a step back. There's probably a cortisol issue. There's probably these adrenal issues. We've got to go step by step through that process to rebuild it. And that's where neurofeedback comes into play as a crucial part of this process, because just by giving some supplements, some herbs, different things is not going to get people out of this fight or flight pattern. If there is a chronic high alpha, chronic anxiety, worry, rumination, and it's brain-based, we've got to deal with those brain patterns. And that's how people are going to get a lot of healing in their life. So great question, Jennifer. Love it. Patricia, great to see you. Hazel, 16-year-old son, went to the hospital with severe pain in his groin and stomach. Came on suddenly. They gave him ultrasound and couldn't find anything wrong. He also had other tests. Urea levels came back low. What is this, and is it dangerous? His doc is away on vacation until May, so can't find out anything, yet he's still in pain. So, the urea level is probably not going to be causing this problem, Hazel. If I see a 16 to 24-year-old come into the office now, number one thing I think, oh, they've got some kind of a gut issue, throwing up every day, having chronic stomach pain, having chronic diarrhea, all types of different things we see every single day. And so here's the deal. You've got to, it's probably no severe thing like, oh my gosh, the appendix just ruptured, or the gallbladder burst, or anything like that. It's probably not that, but there's a lot of other things that can be going on when we start looking at, is the stomach producing enough stomach acid to break down? Is the gallbladder releasing bile to break down fats like it needs to? Is the small intestine absorbing like it needs to? Do we have leaky gut? Is it making enzymes? Does the large intestine have a microbiome imbalance? Is there bad bacteria in there? Is there not enough good bacteria? We've got to go back through and fix those. He may have a chronic stress thing as well. So you can either be in fight or flight or resting and digesting, but you can't do both at the same time. So Hazel, your son, unfortunately, just waiting for the doctor to come back in May. Probably are not going to get any major answers, anything that like, oh my gosh, this is it. But you've got to dig deep. There's something else going on in there. And so I would run a comprehensive blood panel and to see what's going on. Hey, there's Mac in South Africa. Melissa's in Iowa. All right. And Carla in Boston, one of the most confusing cities to get around in. I remember having my GPS out on my phone and walking, and like every 20 feet, there's another road going a different direction. It's a wild place to be. Hazel in Nova Scotia, Canada. Good to see you. Let's see. All right, Carla, I have no interest in having one done. It's my doc that keeps pushing for one. I do not do well with going under. I get sick as a dog. Absolutely. Then you just answered your question there. You got to figure something else out. So Google the virtual colonoscopy. So Carla's asking about colonoscopy alternatives. Absolutely. If you don't do well going under, then do the virtual colonoscopy. So Pat having some bradycardia. So anytime we have heart rate issues, and I'm assuming you're getting that's what you're talking about here is our heart rate is getting out of balance. Anytime we have heart rate issues, again, you got to take a step back and look at the why. One of the things we're seeing a lot now from post-COVID as well as post-COVID shots is this POTS. Which is where the blood pressure crashes down and then that heart rate jumps up. So somebody might get dizzy, their blood pressure goes really low, and then that heart rate jumps up trying to make up for it. So it'll hit 110, 120, 130, and then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, you've got this elevated heart rate. But that's not the cause, that's a symptom. Heart rate going up is a symptom. So we see a lot of people now having this, it's called POTS, where that orthostatic pressure doesn't stabilize like it's supposed to. And so number one reason for that is the adrenal glands give tone to our blood vessels, and it's going to be able to keep that blood pressure good like it's supposed to. So absolutely, yeah, you got to fix those underlying whys. Hey, Miriam, after taking out the root cause, what can help receding gums grow back? That's a great question. You figure out why it's happening. Now let's get them to grow back. I would look at some topical things would be helpful. I would also look at collagen would be helpful as well. Collagen, bone broth, some of those. Skin, hair, nails, really good. I've got a friend that works for Ancient Nutrition, Dr. Josh's company for the bone broth and collagen and all that, and they came out with this new pink lemonade one, and he was like literally taking 12 scoops a day of it, and his nails and hair started growing so ridiculously fast. He was cutting them like every other day. He was having to cut his nails. So I would look at doing some high dose collagen, bone broth, make your own, whatever you can do. But yeah, that's the big thing I do is just really fund the body with those basic ability to start repairing. Christy, she should look into pans. Thank you for that. Debbie Jacobson, an unvaxxed family member in his early 30s, came down with Bell's palsy recently. He had COVID at the beginning of the year and is under a lot of stress. Could it be caused by those two factors? Temporary condition, hopefully. Thanks. Absolutely. So think about this. When we start thinking about COVID long haul, COVID long symptoms, COVID brain, all these different things, the research shows that the majority of people that have long COVID symptoms actually have a reactivated Epstein-Barr. So that Epstein-Barr has revved up, and it's like, holy cow, this virus has came back in the body. So that having COVID could deplete the immune system enough that, and Bell's palsy a lot of times is a virus is affecting that nerve. That's where we'll get that droop in the face. For those of you guys not aware of that, you can Google that, look at the images. It's pretty crazy what some of those look like if you've never seen that. And so COVID and lots of stress. So think about this. My brother and his wife, when they were in their late 30s, had a house fire. The house didn't burn down, but they were out for a year. Nothing really burned, but everything had smoke damage, so they had to get rid of everything. But they had to go through all their clothes. I mean, just lay it out in this huge parking lot and just decide what to get rid of and throw away forever because they couldn't clean it. They were out of the house, had 3 little kids, all that. They both got shingles in that time, and it was just that stress. They were rebuilding the house, making all these decisions, trying to find rental houses, all these issues, and fighting with the insurance company and all that stuff, and they both got shingles. So absolutely, Deb, We will see that these chronic stressful situations, and COVID is one of those. We've seen major issues come about post-COVID. That COVID isn't really the problem; it's what happens to the body afterwards. So, great question. I'm having issues with my smell and taste since COVID. No vax for me. The smells are horrible, and some food tastes bad or like chemicals. Also, soap, shampoo, and other things smell like chemicals. I've done zinc, melatonin, and now trying Seneca. Yes, we see this with a lot of patients that these the sense of taste and smell are very challenged. But what we've seen also is that if somebody, especially if they're going through our program and we're fixing whatever's out of balance, their liver, their gut, their inflammation, their thyroid, adrenals, whatever it is, as we're going through that, a lot of times this sense of taste and smell starts coming back because that inflammation calms down. The body can actually start rebuilding and repairing those sensors. So yeah, not much fun. Jennifer, can you explain hypothyroidism and reactive hypoglycemia and the connection there? So Jennifer, yes, the biggest connection is most people with hypothyroid have Hashimoto's. So if you've got Hashimoto's, you've got an autoimmune condition, and we know that people, when they get reactive hypoglycemia, that's where they're doing this balance, and people, they'll spike up and they'll crash down and then eat and up and down, up and down, up and down. And so every time that blood sugar goes up too high or down too low, it's going to rev up that immune response. So it doesn't matter if you've got Hashimoto's, MS like my mom had, idiopathic thrombocytopenia like my wife had, and they took out her spleen. You've got rheumatoid arthritis, you've got lupus, ulcerative colitis, whatever autoimmune condition it is, you've got to keep that blood sugar as steady as possible, 85 to 110 all day long. You've got to do that. Otherwise, these swings, every time it spikes up, high insulin is going to drive that inflammatory process. If you haven't got my book yet, grab my book on Amazon. Brittany, you want to put a link down below. A quick, easy read, but it gets in depth into the physiological effects of having these blood sugar swings. It's called Blood Sugar Doesn't Lie. And every time it goes up, insulin drives that inflammatory process, can destroy more tissue. Every time it goes down, cortisol kicks out, tells the liver to kick out glucose, drives this autoimmune reaction as well. So absolutely, every time, if you have Hashimoto's, every time your blood sugar goes up too high or down too low, you've destroyed more tissue. So got to keep that blood sugar stabilized. That's why a bunch of years ago we started doing fingerprint blood sugar monitoring, because we knew with autoimmune we got to keep it steady. And so now we've actually evolved into the continuous glucose monitor. I'm putting one on later today, so I'll show you guys a patch that we do for that one. Yeah, Ginger, great to see you. I need to find out what blood test to get to find out why I can't lose weight. Where are you at, Ginger? We can actually drop ship a blood test kit to you for a couple $100. You can get the exact same kit that we run with patients in office, any of our F8 offices in Tennessee or Colorado. And we look at hormones, we look at inflammatory markers, blood sugar markers, liver, thyroid, full Hashimoto's, all these different things, and get an idea of why you can't lose weight. Absolutely. There, check out some of the videos. If you haven't seen my videos on blood work, Brittany, if you have any of those up there, of the key markers that you're not running, your GGT, your insulin, your ferritin, some of these key markers that your primary doc is not running, and that are crucial for us to figure things out. So yeah, so let us know if you need help getting some blood work done. Rochelle, what are some of the most common symptoms of leaky gut, and what are some things to work on to correct that? Up in Alaska, great to have you on, Dr. Jake, our other doctor in the Fort Collins office. He was up in Alaska. He loves it. He misses it. It's an amazing place. And Brittany, we've got a couple leaky gut videos on YouTube as well. You can link Rochelle for those. So leaky gut, think about leaky gut. It sounds kind of like this new agey term, but it's a real thing. Leaky gut is all about not keeping things out and letting things in too soon into the bloodstream. So the digestive tract is a barrier. It's still outside of the body, even though it's inside of our body. It's a barrier. If you eat a screw, from, I remember I got 4 boys, so they're always looking at weird stuff, but there was a guy that chopped up this airplane and basically ate an airplane whole, the whole thing, not all at once, but piece by piece by piece. And so, eat a bolt, eat a screw. It's not going to get into your bloodstream because you've got this barrier system that's going to keep it out. And that's what's supposed to happen. But when there's tight junctions that open up too soon, or when there's damage, when there's irritation to that lining, it's going to allow things into the bloodstream too quickly, and we're going to stimulate this immune inflammatory cascade, and that's going to cause a lot of other issues. So we'll see symptoms. If you have an autoimmune condition, 99% of the time you have leaky gut. If you have eczema, psoriasis, any acne, you probably have leaky gut. If you've got gas, bloating, if you've been on a whole bunch of antibiotics. I had 2 Lyme bullseye tick ring bites a bunch of years ago, and I took 3 months of antibiotics. I never got Lyme disease, but it jacked up my microbiome pretty bad, and probably are dealing with leaky gut of some kind for the rest of my life that I will always be working on. So those are some of the things to look at. Correcting it, we go with those 4 R's. We've got to remove bad things, remove food allergens, remove pathogens, kill off bad stuff. The oil oregano that we use is amazing. Brittany, you can pop that link down below for that Oregano Max time-released capsules. Then you've got to go into repairing that gut lining, glutamine, marshmallow root, aloe, chamomile, a bunch of different things that are going to heal up that gut lining. We re-inoculate, bring in good bacteria. We replace enzymes, stomach acid, things like that. So it's a process, but yeah, check out some of the other videos on leaky gut, and that's a good place to start. Hey there, Amy from Kansas. How would you approach your neurologist about coming off of blood thinners post-stroke for a more natural supplement choice? Well, that's pretty easy. They've got tests, and they've probably been running these every once in a while, where you can test how thin or thick your blood is, and then they adjust your blood thinner on that. And that's why they say don't eat green leafy vegetables or things like that, because they're blood thinning, and we're already on this blood thinner and it can get too thin. And I say, well, no, you eat as much as you possibly can of those, retest, and adjust your medication accordingly. So here's the deal. You say, you know what, I'm going to add in vitamin E, I'm going to add in fish oil, I'm going to add in a buttload of spinach and greens and whatever else, and you're going to test me, and you're going to see how thin my blood is, and then we're going to adjust the blood thinner accordingly, and you're going to be consistent with what you're doing on the natural side, and then you're going to decrease that blood thinner on the prescription side as much as you possibly can until, potentially you could even get off of it, but you have to be consistent. Robin, how do you fast? Me personally or in general? So if it's in general fasting, people, there's 1,000 ways to fast. If it's me fasting, there's different ways to do it. I don't do a lot of fasting personally, and that's primarily because for my blood sugar type, I've been more on the hypoglycemic side. And so fasting just does not do very well with me. If I go till lunch, even I used to do some bulletproof coffee and go till lunch, and I could do that. And after a while, I did okay. I cycled off because it wasn't helpful on my blood work and some other things. So some people, occasional intermittent fasting is okay, but you really have to pay attention to that blood sugar. And the thing, if I'm looking at my CGM and I'm trying to do intermittent fasting, dip, and every time that happens, the number one stressor to the adrenal glands is when that blood sugar goes down too low. And so we're having adrenals. I've had enough stress in my life. I don't need any more stressors. Fasting, I think for a lot of people, it's a little made up to be a little bit more value than it really is. And sure, there's times where doing a 1 or 2 day juice fast or some things like that can have value if somebody's in really bad shape. The people that should be fasting are the pre-diabetics and diabetics that already have a whole bunch of glucose buildup in their body. And so not eating for a while, they can actually burn some of that off and then get into their meat, veggies, good proteins, stabilize your blood sugar kind of a diet. But if somebody is thin, is hypoglycemic, their blood sugar's all over the place, probably not going to be a good idea to fast there. Hey, Jane, good to see you. What can you do to stop kidney stones from forming? Already increased water, no pop, no juice, just keep forming in one kidney left side. This is for my hubby. Yeah, so you've got to look at how the body's excreting. What's the liver doing? Is the liver detoxifying like it needs to? Is he having regular bowel movements? What's his uric acid doing? I would definitely look at metabolic syndrome. I'm going to guess he's not ideal body weight and ideal blood sugar and ideal ferritin and triglycerides and everything else. Let me know if that's not true, Jane, but my guess is that there's a metabolic syndrome issue. I've got a lady up in Wyoming that's been having a lot of kidney stones, and she's down probably 20 pounds now and doing great, and she's feeling really good, hasn't had one for quite a while. So start there. Stephanie, just watched your video about the 7 foods to avoid to decrease inflammation. What if you already avoid those 7 categories and your inflammation is still off the charts? Well, Stephanie, it's not those foods. So, here's the deal. I always say you can't out-supplement a weakened immune system. So everybody, COVID, oh my gosh, I'm worried about COVID, so I'm going to take zinc and vitamin D and quercetin and hydroxychloroquine and all these different things. And they're still not sleeping like they're supposed to. They're still eating crap. Their blood sugar's still out of balance. They're still super stressed. All these things that decrease the immune system way more than taking some supplements are going to increase it. And I just took 13 different supplements this morning. I'm working through a couple different things, but I just took a bunch of stuff. So I by no means am I against supplements, but same thing here. We work with diet all the time, but there's no amount of avoiding foods. If those foods are not the contributing factors to decrease to the increased inflammation, avoiding them or staying away from inflammatory foods is not going to fix the inflammation. You did not figure out where that inflammation is coming from, Stephanie. So that's the biggest thing that you need to do, is figure out why you're inflamed. One of the number one things, if it's C-reactive protein, I would look at your ferritin, look at your triglycerides, look at your non-fasting insulin, look at your GGT, look at your liver enzymes, and figure out, is this a metabolic syndrome? Is this an insulin resistance? Is this a blood sugar related inflammatory process? And if it is, you got to fix that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's going on, but there's got to be something else that's still contributing to that. Hey, Derek, good to see you guys. Hope everything is good down there in the Denver Metroplex. Blood sugar question staying in the 105 to 115 range with finger prick. I think they're horribly inaccurate, but can somebody be safe and just be higher than most? Absolutely. So here's the deal. And Signos, the continuous glucose monitor distribution company that we work with, their CEO, he's been using his CGM for 4 years. And even the Dexcom 6, that's kind of the gold standard of the CGMs, he said it's still not that accurate. I mean, it's accurate, but it's not, just like Derek said, he thinks they're horribly inaccurate. I don't know about horribly, but there's no perfect blood sugar monitoring out there. And yet, he said the biggest thing to think about is that, just like heart rate variability, look at your glucose variability. And I would much rather have somebody 115 to 125 all day long, very, very narrow range, than somebody 80, 122, 91, 133. I would much rather have it be very, very steady, a little bit high, than bouncing all over the place. So yeah, you're doing awesome there, Derek. Keep it nice and steady. Julie, do you accept insurance? So here's the deal with insurance. If we accepted insurance, insurance would say, you get this number of visits with your patients. They would say, we'll pay you this amount for your patients. They say, we'll only cover these types of blood work, instead of, the panel that we run for a couple $100 is like $3,000 at the local lab, because we get such a good price on it. So most insurances aren't even going to cover that. So instead of letting the insurance control us and getting this kind of half-arsed way of treating someone, we said, you know what, we're going to keep our prices as low as we possibly can, go just off of a cash-based model and give people the care that they truly need, and not let the insurance company dictate what we need. Unfortunately, the insurance company has gotten people into the health
health problems that they have already. Hey, Katie, on previous videos, said you need to use ionophore with zinc to help it get into one's cells, green tea or maca. Yes, that can be helpful. The quercetin, some things like that can help pull the zinc in. All right, Derek, another question. Is it possible that some people are just higher in the normal range? I tend to be, yep. Like I said, it's just, that's okay. It's just a little bit more, but I really don't think it's that bad. Rochelle, Hashimoto's and psoriasis. Vast majority of people that have one autoimmune condition, they have multiple autoimmune conditions. So not surprising there, Rochelle. Hey, Eula up in Michigan, good to see you. Dale and Jane, I feel my heartbeat in my throat a lot. Is this something to worry about? That's an interesting symptom. If it's going up and down stairs, maybe you're just a little bit out of shape and that heart's going up. If it's like pulsing almost, if you haven't had a artery scan in your throat, then you may want to have those arteries tested and just see if there's any blockage, see if there's anything going on there. And Jane, thanks so much. He does need to lose weight, and he heard your answer. Oh, good, he's listening. So I may finally get him to believe me. I will show him your videos for metabolic syndrome, and I totally believe it's insulin resistance too. Thank you so much. Yes, I wasn't picking on you, hubby, there, but that's just what we see. There's no magic amount of celery or potassium or whatever it is that's going to fix those kidney stones. You've got to figure out the why, and it's probably that metabolic. Up here in Vancouver, I never catch you live. Been watching your videos for a while. Keep up the great work. Awesome. Good to see you there as well. We've just started working with patients in Canada, so that's been pretty fun as well. Derek, no worries. All right. Debbie, singing chiropractor for anxiety gain, neurofeedback, QNRT, and PEMF magnetic pulsing. I'm losing hair from stress. Do you think it will grow back once I feel better? Absolutely. We see people's hair come back all of the time. That's awesome that you're getting the neurofeedback, doing the PEMF. Those are two tools that I use all the time. So absolutely a really important part of the process. So yeah, you've got to get out of that fight or flight. That is just crucial there. Could adrenal problems affect growth hormone? Sure. Growth hormone, again, related to the whole axis of pituitary, adrenals, thyroid, all of those things. So absolutely can do that. Her rate has even gone down to 30s during a procedure, currently in the 40s. Yeah. So we're on the low side. Again, I would look at adrenals for that heart rate. Definitely could be part of that. When I bend down to pick up something, I feel my heart beating weird, like it skips. EULA, probably the adrenal glands. I would look at cortisol, DHEA, chronic fight or flight, things like that, because those adrenals' job is to pump that blood back up through those blood vessels. So there you go, 37 minutes, guys. I don't think there's any more questions, and I gotta jump anyways. So love it. If you got any other questions, if you're watching these later, like some of the people that are like, oh, I never catch you live. If you're watching this later, ask a question. We watch these all the time. Keep an eye on those, and share it. Tell your friends about us. Bring them on. Let them know every Thursday, 8:30 Mountain Time. We're going to answer questions. They can bring them and get started on your path to health. That is my number one goal, to give people that inspiration to make changes in their life, and ultimately to bring this model of care to the forefront of healthcare. We want to start with the basics, start here, and then if we need to, we'll refer you out, do a scan, do a scope, do any of those things. But let's start here. Let's get the body as strong as possible. All right, love you guys. Thanks for all the great messages there. Bring your friends, bring family, anybody. Yeah, let me answer their questions. So take care, everybody. Make it a great week.